From what you and Harlan did that fateful night seems at first glance to fill that hole perfectly. A donut hole in a donut's hole. But we must look a little closer. And when we do, we see the donut hole has a hole in its center.
So for me, I started writing this the same way I kind of work on all my scripts. I start really structurally. I start big picture.
Dad said the plots just popped into his head, fully formed. It was the easy part for him.
Instead of even thinking, okay, so this is who did it, and this is how they did it, and this is how the plot works, I actually started more zoomed back than that, thinking about the shape of the story.
You're not just gonna throw away your fortune.
No, I'm giving it to Marta. All of it.
And thinking about, okay, here's how the shape of a whodunit typically works. What if I kind of put a Hitchcock thriller in the middle of a whodunit, but then still had it be a whodunit underneath the Hitchcock thriller? How would that work?
Oh my God.
And then I started zooming in bit by bit. And for me, being able to kind of see the whole shape at once lets me keep my sanity in terms of working out all the intricate details.
Mr. Blanc, I know who you are. I read your profile in the New Yorker. I found it delightful.
Because it is a genre that demands a certain airtightness from the audience.
No, that would not explain this. Analyze that mud. It will match these traces.
And when you get to the end, that final denouement where the detective lays it all out, all the strings have to connect, otherwise it's not really satisfying. So for me, yeah, having kind of the big picture, that's the only way I can write anyway, and it definitely helped in terms of this one.
So what happens?
I'm gonna give you an emergency shot of naloxone so you don't die in 10 minutes.
Oh, well, no pressure. You know, this is an interesting and efficient method of murder. I need to write this down.
Part of the construction of this whole thing that was exciting to me, I kind of did take a page from Columbo, which in turn takes a page from Hitchcock, which very early on in the game, I wanted to relieve the audience of the burden of, can we figure this out?
It is an immovable fact that I killed Harlan.
Yes, you did. Yes, he did. Yes, you are. But.
Again, just because I don't think that's a very strong narrative engine to drive things. I think that's very intellectual, and that can, it can clue gathering, and you kind of, after a while, you realize, no, I'm not going to figure this out. So you kind of sit back on your hands and wait for the detective to figure it out. That's the danger of a whodunit. So the notion of tipping the hand early and giving this false but very convincing picture from Marta's perspective of, I've done this and I'm in a lot of trouble.
This is crazy. I don't think I can do
We
that.
need to make this so airtight that the average cop will entirely dismiss you as a suspect. It sounds crazy, but it'll work.
It's kind of what Columbo does in terms of like revealing the killer at the beginning of the episode, and then the tension is how the detective is going to catch the killer.
To avoid the security cameras, pull off the road after the carved elephant.
The interesting thing to me was the idea, could we do that, but do it so that you're genuinely on the side of the killer? And then once you've done that, it's very interesting because the mechanics of the murder mystery, the fact that you know the detective always catches the killer, that itself becomes the antagonist, even if the detective is not an antagonistic character. That becomes kind of the looming threat, is the fact that we know how mysteries work and we know the detective catches them at the end. And we're worried for Marta, worried how is she possibly going to get out of this situation. And to me, it was additionally interesting that she's a genuinely good person. And it seems like the only way she can get out of this, increasingly as we kind of tighten the screws on her, is by doing less and less savory things.
1209 Columbus Road.
Okay, I mean, whatever they want, I'll say yes because, just to get that report back.
Get it back and destroy it.
Destroy it.
And we push her and push her and push her and see how far she's willing to play this game in order to come out the other end clean. That to me seemed like, okay, that seems like a movie I can actually get emotionally invested in, and I can actually lean into and start and really care about what the outcome's going to be.
You won, not by playing the game Harlan's way, but yours.
The bigger thing for me was just making sure that it played as a movie, and that to me is where that Hitchcock element comes in. You can have the most finely tuned puzzle box in the world, and if that's kind of the only thing narratively that's driving it is adding up all these clues to one big solution at the end. And yeah, that's kind of fun, but that's not really going to engage an audience on the level that I wanted to engage them. So the thing that I really focused on was, on top of making sure all the whodunit stuff worked, also making sure that it worked as a movie. And that means having a character that you have sympathy for, and that character's threatened, and then you're actually leaning forward in your chair seeing if they're going to get out of this situation, and having it be thrilling scene to scene in addition to it all adding up to something. And that, to me, is what's going to pull you through the first time, and that's also what's going to make it satisfying on multiple watches, you know. And that, combined with all the pieces lining up, I hope that adds up to something that's satisfying on a few different levels.